In this video, I want to share with you how you can create some simple generative sequence inside Ableton Live. So generative means that there's going to be some variation. So we create a pleasant sequence, but you also get some parameters that change, or actually some tones. So it never sounds exactly the same. And especially if you're new to this, like to sequencing, Ableton Live, generative music, this video is going to be a great starting point. My name is Yannis, by the way, and let's jump right into it. Inside Ableton, we first need a sound, and there's one instrument called Drift. It's a very basic synthesizer, but available in all Ableton versions, and I think it's really amazing, especially if you're starting out. And it's not going to be some deep dive sound design tutorial. I actually have another video about Drift and making different sounds with it. I'm gonna link it in this info box here. But for now, all we need to do is we deselect oscillator 2, so we only have like one oscillator, and we'll also tweak it a little further after we compose some first notes. So we create with a double click here a MIDI clip. And I also suggest that you choose a scale because it makes it a little easier to find notes that actually fit. You can also then click scale and fold it, so you only have scale tones to choose from. In this case, it's like C minor. I like minor tonalities for the type of music we're creating, but you can use other scales you find here, but major and minor is good for the beginning. And let's just compose one C. And also like some E flat, because while you can try all the notes, there are chords which are built out of the root note, the third note of a scale, which in this case would be E flat, and also G, which is the fifth note. And they usually sound great. If you want to compose something that doesn't sound like bad, I think it's a good start to stick to the third and also the fifth. So that's what we do here. Let's actually maybe put the G here, so we have 3 notes. Yeah. We'll compose more notes, but this is a good starting point. And now for Drift, let's bring down the filter frequency, so it's not as bright. And increase a little the release of those both envelopes. And actually also the decay. Soften a bit the attack. And that's kind of a nice basic sound for creating the sequence here. I also suggest to add some reverb. Maybe you have the Ableton template that is actually the default template with the sends here. I stored another template at some point, so I don't have them. You can right click and select insert return track if you also don't have a return track here. And go to audio effects and to reverb. Actually, you can see if there's some reverb you like. For example, I'm gonna choose the warm reverb long because I want to have something that has somewhat like a longer tail, and then you just increase the send. Just for getting a little bit of space. Let's go back to the sequence, and right now it sounds really repetitive, and the great thing in Ableton is that you can just duplicate and make the cycle longer. I mean, it's still the same idea, but then you can easily build in little variations. And I like to use longer cycles because they create the impression that there's new music happening all the time, because the longer the cycle, the less repetitive it sounds and the less likely you feel like, okay, actually, this just sounds like some loop, or the listener thinks that. And especially for the root note, so here C is our lowest note, the root note, we can, for the second part of the sequence, like those 4 bars, change it to a lower pitch because it creates some sort of chord progression vibe, which is also like great for making it sound a little more moving. So let's check this sequence now. Actually, that's a good foundation. And now we can explore some other notes and also building in chance, which means like those notes don't always come, so it has this kind of generative vibe. And a first note I want to try is A flat, because in minor tonalities it often sounds really charismatic. Let's listen to it. Yeah, this one is nice. So let's, just for making a structure, put it on this position before the G. Actually, it would be like some 8th note position. And let's explore the chance menu. So if you select all notes, you can change here the velocity and also the chance. Actually, there's a chance you don't see the chance, because you have to click on this little icon here in order to open the chance menu. And I think by default you only see velocity, so you click chance, then you get this little menu here. You can also make it a little larger. And now we can select all A flats and say, okay, those A flats only have a chance of 60%. So sometimes the note will be left out, and this way it never sounds exactly the same. Let's try it. Actually, it triggered most of the notes in the beginning, but now you saw that we got some variation. And let's also try the note before. So it would be like the B flat. That sounds actually really beautiful, especially if it comes every now and then. So let's draw it in. So now we're basically creating like a scale fragment, but with a chance. So there's variation, and maybe we put it to the same amount as the A flat and see how this sounds. And let's also add the C, because it's nice to have some octaves sometimes going from C3 to C4. And this way we also create some 4-note scale fragment that sounds pleasant if all notes get triggered, but also if it's just a part of this scale fragment. So we select all notes, bring them down. Actually, it depends on your taste, of course, how often you want to hear them. We can also lower them a little. I felt like they still got triggered a lot. Let's try like this. Maybe the C can be a little more likely. Then you basically trust your intuition. If you feel like at a certain point a certain note appears too often, you just change it. Here I feel like it's a bit repetitive that we hear this structure like in all 8 bars. We could also lower the chance, for example, for the second bar of all those notes, or for the fourth bar and the 6th bar. Also, like the 8th bar doesn't have to be the same. It's just a bit like drawing, kind of some enjoyable process. And also for the rhythm, I feel like this first rhythm is always the same, because we get the root note and it always comes on the 1. So we can draw in maybe some 2s sometimes. So it would be like, maybe for the first note, I think it's great to start the sequence with the 1, but then we bring in some variations and we vary it. So maybe we bring this down to 60. Sometimes we will get both triggers, but just as a little variation. Actually, here it's nice to have the 1 again. And then here we just have a little bit of randomness again. Let's see how this sounds. Kind of sweet. And if you have like a sequence like this, you can nicely create some arrangement by just playing a little with the filter and also the envelope controls. And I'll just share a little of that. That's just a basic concept on how to approach making generative sequences. Of course, there's way more to explore, and I want to link you to videos, because this one is about creating generative ambient music and creating some super nice device for creating all sorts of textures. And here's another one about generative sequencing techniques, so you can actually add some interesting stuff to something like the sequence we just created. And apart from that, I just wish you lots of inspiration with whatever it is that you create, and really hope to see you soon again at this channel. Bye.